Okay, so now we're on to the grid ends. First question, t is greater than 0 and t squared minus 4 equals 0. What is the value of t? Well, the first thing that we'd want to do is we'd want to factor to get t plus 2, t minus 2. It's a difference of two squares. Okay, and then we could t-chart, and effectively that just means switching the signs. So we get t equals negative 2 and t equals 2. What is the value of t? So if we know that t is greater than 0, then we have to choose this to be our value for t. So yeah, the answer would be 2. 17. A summer camp counselor wants to find a length x in feet across a lake as represented in the sketch above. The lengths represented by AB are all shown. Okay, let's see. Well, they're not shown. So AB is 1800. So that goes here. EB is 1400. BD is 700, and CD is 800. So that would go here. Segments AC, okay, intersect, and these angles have the same measure. Okay, angle AEB, and B, okay, so these measures are equal. And we also know that these would also be equal to each other based on the fact that they're vertical angles. So by angle-angle rule, that we know that these are similar triangles. And when we have similar triangles, we know that their proportions, their sides are in proportion, the corresponding sides. So the sides that correspond with one another, if we were to reorient these triangles in the same orientation, EB and BD would match up. So we can put them over one another, big over small, and we see that the proportion of the triangle is a 2-to-1 proportion. So then we can conclude, I believe, let's see, hang on, before I'm too hasty. Sometimes it's helpful to redraw the triangles with the same orientation. So let's try doing that. Since we know for a fact that these angles match up, what I'd have to do is I'd have to rotate this small triangle around until the correct angle is sitting here, which would be angle D. So if I did that, C would be pointing up in the air, okay, so here, and B would be over here. So that's the proper orientation of the small triangle here. And then if I relabel the sides, DC would be 800. So I was correct in my assessment. So BD is 700. So then this would be the corresponding side with this 800. So I can fill that in here. So x over 800. And then if I cross multiply, I'll just get x equals 1600. Okay. So yeah, that'll be our answer here. Next question. So here we have a system. According to the system equations above, what is the value of x? So what I would do here, you have an option. The option that I would elect to take is to negate the entire top line. I would get negative x minus y equals 9. Then I would combine the two lines. The x's would cancel. 2y minus y is equal to y. And then negative 25 plus 9, right, these are opposite signs, so they would subtract. We'd get negative 16 as the result. But they're not asking for y, they're asking for x. So I'd have to plug back in. So I get x plus negative 16 equals negative 9. I add 16 to both sides, and I get x equals 7. Okay. In a right triangle, one angle measures x, where sine of x is 4/5. What is the cosine of 90 minus x? So this is a cofunctions question. So by the method of cofunctions, I know that the sine of x is equal to the cosine of 90 minus x. Always. Okay, so if I know that the sine of x is 4/5, then the cosine of 90 minus x must be the same thing, must be 4/5. Very simple question if you know about cofunctions. Okay, so other things that are cofunctions are tangent and cotangent, and secant and cosecant. That's why they're named that way, okay, because of the idea of cofunctions. And it basically comes about by the fact that if you have a right triangle, if we call this angle A and this angle B, then if we were to look at the cosine of A, right, then it would be adjacent, which would be, if we call that C, would be side AC over hypotenuse, which is AB. But then if we were to look at the sine of B, the sine of B would be opposite, which was, again, AC over hypotenuse, which again would be AB. And if you notice, these are the same. The other thing to notice is that if you add A and B together, you must get 90 degrees, because they are complementary to each other, seeing as this other 90 would make it 180. Okay. So if you solve for A, for example, you would get 90 minus B, and you can plug that in here. So you get cosine of 90 minus B is the same thing as the sine of B, effectively. So we've therefore proven the idea of this rule of cofunctions. Right, so if A equals 5 rad 2 and 2A equals rad 2x, what is the value of x? Well, there's a few ways we could do this. One way is we can substitute this in for A. So we'd have 2 times 5 rad 2 equals rad 2x. And 2 times 5 is 10, so we get 10 rad 2 equals rad 2x. Then we have to square both sides to get rid of the square root. So we have to square each piece of this, so 10 squared is 100, and rad 2 squared is 2. Rad 2x squared is just 2x. Then we just divide by 2. This cancels, you get 100 equals x.